Does that come with kind of pressure or is it pride?
I would say more pride.
Mm-hmm.
I think it depends how you look at it, and I try to take it in with as much gratitude as I possibly can, because I know not a lot of players are able to have this platform, and it's a blessing to have this support behind me. So yeah, I won't say that it comes without any pressure at all. But what I do is I just try to focus on what I need to do on court, how I can work to the best of my ability, and I know that I'll perform to the best that I can.
Let me tell you about the moment a 20-year-old girl from the Philippines broke the internet with 8 words. Not a tweet thread, not a clapback video, not a press release polished by a team of lawyers. 8 words. And those 8 words did something nobody saw coming. They left one of the most powerful women in media history completely, devastatingly silent. Oprah Winfrey publicly went after Alex. And here is the wild part. Alex didn't panic. She didn't call her manager. She didn't post a crying video or issue one of those safe, watered-down statements that say everything and mean nothing. She came back immediately, in her own voice, with zero filter. And the line she ended with spread like wildfire within hours. But before we get there, do you think Alex handled this perfectly? Or did she go too far? Drop your honest take in the comments right now, because this one genuinely has people split. I want to know exactly where you stand.
It just, everything clicked after that. And I look back at that moment and I just think, wow, like it was insane. And it's crazy to believe that actually.
To understand why this moment hit the way it did, you have to understand who Alex actually is. Because this is not a story about a social media personality who happened to pick up a racket. This is something much bigger than that. Alex has been building something real. Not the kind of fame that lasts 2 weeks after one viral clip and then disappears. The kind of momentum that compounds slowly, painfully, and then suddenly all at once. Brands started calling. Stadiums started selling out. People who had never watched a single tennis match in their entire lives suddenly knew her name, knew her story, and were showing up in stands, holding signs. So how did a girl from the Philippines actually get here? She left home as a teenager, flew to Spain, trained at the Rafa Nadal Academy, one of the most demanding development programs in professional tennis anywhere in the world. Think about what that means for a second. You are 16 years old. You are thousands of miles from your family. You are competing on clay courts in the Spanish heat against kids whose families have been investing in their tennis careers since they could walk. No safety net, no famous last name, no shortcut in sight. She grinded through junior grand slams, through ITF circuit matches that nobody films and nobody watches, through qualifying rounds in brutal conditions, earning ranking points one exhausting match at a time. And somewhere in the middle of all that hard, invisible, unglamorous work, something extraordinary happened. She became a cultural phenomenon. Her matches started selling out. Sponsors lined up. Magazines wanted her on covers. And a teenager in Manila who had never cared about tennis was suddenly watching. Suddenly feeling like this sport, this expensive, exclusive sport, could actually belong to her too. That is not a small thing. That is the kind of crossover appeal that sports organizations spend hundreds of millions of dollars trying to manufacture. They hire consultants, launch campaigns, build entire marketing departments around exactly this goal, and almost none of them pull it off. Alex did it naturally, authentically, just by being exactly who she is. So naturally, and you knew this part was coming. Someone decided it needed to be torn down. Oprah Winfrey posted a public critique of Alex that blindsided basically everyone watching. And it was not gentle. It was not the kind of nuanced media observation where someone raises a fair question with genuine curiosity. It read like a prepared takedown, a verdict that had already been decided before a single word was typed. Oprah wrote that the buzz surrounding Alex was not about exceptional tennis talent. It was about image, viral personality, spectacle. She called Alex a symbol of distraction and emotional chaos. And then she wrote that history remembers depth, not noise. Depth, not noise. Read that again slowly and actually sit with it, because we are talking about a young woman who packed her bags as a teenager, moved to a foreign country, and spent years grinding on tennis courts, far from home and far from comfort, carrying the weight of an entire nation's hopes, and someone with a television show called That Noise. The internet did not respond quietly. Fan bases collided. Sports journalists weighed in. Entertainment writers jumped into the conversation. Former athletes started picking sides publicly, but everyone was really watching Alex. Because that is the moment that truly defines a person, not the attack, but the response. That is where real character lives. A lot of athletes in that position go quiet. They hand the situation to a PR firm. The firm runs its standard play, a carefully worded statement that offends nobody, protects the brand, and simply waits for the news cycle to move on. That is the safe move. That is what you do when you want to avoid conflict with powerful people. Alex did absolutely none of that. She responded immediately, in her own words. With no committee, no filter, no safety net underneath her, she wrote that she had never chased fame. That the attention around her came from years of struggle, hard work, and real people who genuinely saw themselves reflected in her journey. She said that while others focused on inspiring audiences from a distance, she had been focused on saving dreams, lifting up the broken, and proving that opportunity is real, no matter where you come from. She said that being seen is not a crime, that it is what happens when you speak from your scars and try to turn pain into something with purpose. And then she closed it with the 8 words the entire internet memorized within hours. My legacy is built on courts, not couches. That line landed exactly the way a perfect serve lands, clean, precise, and completely unreturnable. No room for a follow-up. No angle left to spin it from. 8 words that drew the sharpest possible line between 2 completely different worlds. Think about what she actually said. Oprah built one of the most remarkable careers in media history by sitting across from other people, listening to their stories, framing those stories for a television audience. That is powerful, and nobody is dismissing it. But there is a real, fundamental difference between observing struggle from a studio couch and actually living it on a tennis court with a racket in your hand and a scoreboard above your head that does not care about your feelings. Alex did not say Oprah's work was meaningless. She simply said her own work happened somewhere else entirely, and she said it with a precision that was almost surgical in its clarity. The fallout came fast. Fellow players started liking the post, not commenting, because professional athletes are trained to be careful about that, but liking it. And in today's media environment, a like from an active professional is its own statement. Former champions, who had spent years fighting the same exhausting narrative that a young woman's marketability somehow undermines her athletic credibility, were openly and vocally supportive. The hashtag Pain into Purpose started trending worldwide and completely hijacked the conversation Oprah had tried to start. And Oprah's camp? Complete silence. No response. No clarification. No follow-up post explaining what she actually meant. Just sustained, remarkable silence. Here is what makes that silence interesting. Oprah Winfrey is not someone who goes quiet when challenged. She has navigated controversies that would have permanently ended other careers. She knows exactly how to respond, when to respond, and how to take back control of a narrative. The fact that her team made a deliberate choice not to say anything tells you everything you need to know. Either they genuinely had no good answer to those 8 words, or they looked at Alex's fan base and concluded that this was not a fight worth continuing. Either way, the silence speaks volumes. But let's zoom out for a moment. Because Oprah's original post did not land in a vacuum. It dropped right in the middle of a very old and very exhausting conversation that sports has been having for decades about young female athletes and what they are actually allowed to be. You know this script. It has been recycled so many times it practically writes itself. Anna Kournikova was one of the best doubles players in the world and a genuine top 10 singles competitor. The media spent the late 90s reducing her entirely to her looks and using her commercial success as evidence that she was not a serious athlete. Maria Sharapova won 5 Grand Slams and spent her whole career being asked to justify why her success was real. Emma Raducanu won the US Open without dropping a single set across qualifying and the entire main draw, one of the most extraordinary achievements in recent tennis history. And the moment she signed brand deals, people started openly questioning her commitment to the sport. The pattern is identical every single time. Young woman becomes successful. Young woman also becomes marketable. Someone suggests the marketability is proof the success is not authentic. The athlete is then forced to defend something that should never require defending in the first place. Oprah's post fit this template so precisely it almost felt like a script was being followed. What Oprah missed, and this is the part her generation of media gatekeepers consistently gets wrong, is that the entire playbook has changed. The old model worked like this. You had a story. A publicist pitched it to a producer. An executive approved it. Oprah invited you onto her couch. And then you had a platform. The couch was the gateway. The couch was the validator. If someone like Oprah decided your story was worth telling, it got told. If they didn't, it disappeared forever. Alex does not need a couch. She points a camera at her face, speaks from her actual lived experience, posts it to millions of people who have been waiting for exactly that voice, and the platform builds itself organically. No executive approval required, no gatekeeping, no couch necessary. When she talks about saving dreams and lifting the broken, she is not speaking in motivational poster language. She is describing something very specific and very real, what it looks like when a young girl in a developing country watches someone who looks like her competing at the highest level of an expensive, predominantly wealthy sport and thinks for the very first time, maybe that is actually possible for me too. That is not noise. That is one of the most meaningful things sports can ever do for a human being. And the fact that it also generates followers and sponsorship deals is not a contradiction, it is the entire point. Because those resources give Alex the financial independence to keep doing it on her own terms, rather than depending entirely on prize money and the goodwill of tournament organizers. Here's the part that makes Oprah's critique genuinely ironic. Oprah built her whole career on exactly this same principle. She told her own story. She spoke from her own pain. She built a platform that connected with people who had never seen themselves represented in mainstream media before. She turned personal struggle into cultural influence, and then into financial power. That is not a criticism of Oprah. That is a description of her genius. But apparently that formula only counts when Oprah personally approves of the person using it. The sport right now needs exactly what Alex brings. It needs players who are compelling, authentic, and connected to communities that traditional sports media has ignored for too long. There is a teenager in Manila right now watching Alex and thinking about picking up a racket for the very first time. That teenager is not watching cable television coverage. They are on their phone watching Alex's posts and feeling like tennis might actually belong to them. That is not a distraction from the sport. That is the future of it. Let's come back to those 8 words one final time. My legacy is built on courts, not couches. It is not angry. It does not name-call or perform outrage. It simply states a fact with total, quiet, unshakable confidence. Alex knows exactly what her work is, where it happens, and what it costs her. She is not interested in having that work evaluated by someone who has never had to fight through a deciding set while carrying a nation's expectations. Oprah's silence, since those words dropped, has said more than any statement ever could. The woman who built a career on knowing exactly what to say appears to have concluded that there is simply no good response to courts, not couches. When a 20-year-old from the Philippines leaves one of the most powerful media figures in history with nothing left to say, that is not noise. That is a statement. Alex walked into a fight she never started. She ended it in 8 words. And whatever you think about Oprah's original post, one thing cannot be argued. Alex does not shrink under pressure. Not on the court. Not anywhere else either. If this video hit, smash like and subscribe because we cover exactly these stories, and you genuinely do not want to miss what comes next.